Well, it is my delight today to welcome Dr. Tara Porter, who is the author of this book, Good Enough, A Framework for Modern Parents. And you've written other books. You are a psychologist. You've got 30 years experience, predominantly in adolescent mental health. You're a mum of three yourself. And today we're going to talk about what I think is a new stage, and I have been asked loads of questions about it, of parenting, and it's looking at emerging adulthood. So this is when we parent our children as they become adults, so probably late, very late teens and early 20s. And it's, they're our kids, but they're not our kids. So it's a new stage. And also from a generational point of view, we have more children living at home for longer now. So it's a new thing. Certainly I'm doing it. I know you've been through it. So it's something we're all dealing with. So I wondered if you could start from a clinical point of view by telling us what this developmental stage is about and what's actually happening with our adult children at this kind of mind, neurological, psychological part of life.
Yeah, hi Lorraine. Thank you for having me on here. I guess what we're talking about in adolescence is always about the separation and the individuation. So the when we think about developmental stages of childhood, the adolescent phase, Erickson would say that's all about developing your own identity. It's about moving away from your parents and looking to your peers. And so creating that separation and individuation, about autonomy, about setting up your own way of doing things. So as an adolescent. And that really clashes when you talk about the emerging the emerging adult stage of life. And what you're talking about is that social change we've seen, which is that more children are living with parents for longer. And I've looked at the data on that, and that's a real thing. I think for
Yeah.
our generation, Lorraine, when you ask parents, you say, "Oh, what age did you leave home?" And so often it's around 18 and then they didn't go back. But for our generation of kids, that isn't possible. There's economic factors that
Mm.
mean that rents are higher, they can't move out. But there's also we've extended the education uh,
Yes. Yeah.
span. So jobs that used to be a graduate job are now jobs for people with masters, and all these factors are meaning that we've a bit of a clash. We've got emerging adults living at home, looking for their separation, their autonomy, their individuation, their identity, looking to their peers, and yet they're stuck in sort of their childhood bedrooms with their parents,
Mm.
potentially telling them what to do.
And that's kind of the crux of it, isn't it? I
It
think
is.
that's the thing we often feel. Where are the lines now? Where are the boundaries? And one thing that you said to me in the past, which I think is really interesting and I hadn't heard before, that this stage might be a little bit about high control versus low control parenting. So high control is, stopping them running into the pond and drowning when they're kids. And high control for emerging adults, though, is a very different thing, isn't it? Not necessarily, or perhaps not helpful. What's the difference between that, and why should we perhaps move to low control parenting at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen it all through, working with children, working with adolescents, working with emerging adults, working with parents. And in my book, I characterize this as, parents who tend to hold on too tight and parents who don't hold on tight enough, right?
Mm.
But in the emerging adult phase, when you hold on too tight, it can create lots of problems.
Yeah.
And there's lots of reasons why parents tend to hold on too tight. They tend to hold on too tight often because we've prioritized or privileged a way of parenting in this last generation,
Mm.
which is about us being very, very involved. There was data out last week. I saw it in the newspaper about the
Yeah.
number of hours did you see it as well?
Yeah, yeah.
The
We're
number of hours
intensively parenting, aren't we?
we're intensively
More than
parenting.
our parents did.
More than our parents did. And I think probably any generation, and we don't have data going back to the previous
Mm.
generation, but I think probably. And so when you get this sort of dynamic of your child and you still feel the same about them in many ways, but they might be 20 or 22 or however old, back with you, you think that you have a right to say about what they're doing or to ask
Yeah.
them to do things, and that is a tricky boundary, isn't it? And I'll just put on another bid in for something else which I think has changed the way we're parenting, which is the phone. So our kids have grown up having us,
Yeah.
almost constantly available. They come out of school, they can phone us, they have a
They can
problem
track us.
they track us, we track them, possibly.
Mm,
Um, And so that gives us more insight into their lives. We perhaps follow them on social media if they let us. We track them. We hear about their problems more often, and that gives us like it's confused boundaries, isn't it? Really, it's
yeah.
just a new issue that we
Yes.
haven't really had
Yeah.
before.
We know so much about them. We can catastrophize forward because we've got a lot more information if we're that way inclined. But in a way, I feel it's probably better, even though we know that much, is just to know that much and let it pass through, or not know that much, or to this is the time to not be location tracking. This is the time to not be delving into their private life, perhaps, isn't it?
I certainly feel that it's a good idea to let go of the location tracking. Yeah. I think it does give us that um, belief that we have something to say about that, or
Mm,
and I think it just causes arguments. So you wake up in the middle of the night, they're not there,
yeah.
and you look where they are, and you have an opinion on it, and it's very difficult once you've got an opinion on it not to share it. Um, Biting our lips here.
Yes, I know, but I know some parents would argue, oh, well, the world is more dangerous, but they are, in their early 20s, they are adults. So the world is more dangerous for all of us. I mean, if you can, I think it's best to turn that off, isn't it? That would be a low control step forward,
It
perhaps.
would be a low control step forward. Yes, it would. Um, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are there other things that you think we could be doing in the home